That's okay. This one should give them effect. Very well, very well. You? As I was getting up, this thing fell. And this is giving me away as somebody who's growing old, you know. The more you grow old, the more you carry medication wherever you are. Anyway, it's good to be here today. And this is a hijack. Let me tell you why, because I was discussing with them and I told them, under no circumstances do I want to give the welcome address. For only one reason. And I told them why. I said, listen, you know, when you get to be a name, people call a legend, KSM, anytime you speak, people assume that whatever you're talking about is coming from you. I didn't want anybody to think that KSM is part of this great day. It has nothing to do with me. The conveners are here, and they are going to be talking to you very, very soon. And the reason it is important for me that I do all I can not to hijack the moment is because the original conveners who came up with this idea are very young. Trust me, when you get to be my age, anybody below 55 is young. You know, so they are very, very, very young. And what strikes me is this: to have a very serious agenda as they're going to be talking about, and for that agenda to be spearheaded by young people, that is what really touched me. And I see most of you are as young or maybe younger than he is. Show yourself some love. Show yourself some love for being here. You deserve it. We are here basically to talk about a very significant thing. These young guys, all of whom were born way after Kwame Nkrumah. That's a nice part too. We who were born during the Nkrumah time and those who were born earlier, we claim, well, we were there when Nkrumah was ruling, and we think we have the right to comment on Nkrumah because of the fact that we are around then, even though we were very young, you know. But to have a group of people who were not even born, who have really no clue of that era.
Excellency, the President, Honorable Speaker of Parliament, Ministers of State, Honorable Members of Parliament, the Lordships of the Judiciary and the Supreme Court, the leadership of the Democracy Hub, traditional rulers, chiefs, civil society, Madam Samia Nkrumah, Comrade Kwesi Pratt Jr., ladies and gentlemen of the media. We're here today because my conscience will not let me rest. Some things are bigger than politics. Some things are deeper than policy. And some things live in the spirit of a nation. And when that spirit is unsettled, no amount of development, no new roads, no new jobs, no new buildings can quiet that unease. Between 24th February 1966 to 24th February 2026 will mark exactly 60 years, 6 good decades, since the overthrow of Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, the founder of our republic and the African of the millennium. In April 1967, in a counter-coup named Operation Guitar Boy, General Kotoka was shot and killed at the forecourt of the then Accra International Airport. His friends and co-conspirators who had helped him in the overthrow of Dr. Nkrumah believed and decided that the best way to commemorate his death was to place his name at our nation's front door. Place his name at our nation's front door. The best way to commemorate him. And so our gateway became a doorpost of remembering a cool era figure rather than a name that represents Ghana's founding story. And so we are here today in all humility, but with firmness, and we ask, how did we get to the point of honoring a cool era figure at the very doorpost of our republic? Because an airport is not just a name. It's the country's first handshake. It's our first greeting. It's Ghana's first sentence to the world. And so millions of people pass through this gateway every single year. In 2024 alone, 3.4 million. And in seasons like Christmas, our brothers and sisters in the diaspora will come home to trace their roots and experience Ghana firsthand. Many of whom were inspired by the independent story of Dr. Nkrumah, which made Ghana famous throughout the entire world. And what name meets them at the doorpost of our republic? Kotoka International Airport. It's in the tickets, it's in the boarding passes, the email confirmations announce it. It's in the display screens of Tokyo, Dubai, Kennedy Airport. And even as the plane begins its descent into Ghana, we hear the name again, Kotoka International Airport. And so the name is repeated millions and millions of times, year after year. And so we can arguably decide and say that the name Kotoka is the most marketed Ghanaian name across the globe beyond the shores of Ghana. Not Kofi Annan, a man who was a symbol of diplomacy across the world. Not even Professor J.B. Dankwa and the Big Six, who contributed significantly to the fight for our independence. Not Jerry Rawlings, who birthed the Fourth Republic and engineered the democracy that we enjoy today. Not J.A. Kufuor, who consolidated that democracy. Not President Akufo-Addo, who created significant strides in education and became a human rights activist for the past 40 years. And not Professor J.E.A. Mills, who rather died honorably in his line of duty, unlike Kotoka, and whose name across all political divides. We can debate that past in our books and our documentaries. We can preserve his memory in our museums. But the name at the doorpost of our republic must be that which unites us, that which uplifts us, and that which we are proud, to present to the world. And so I cannot and we cannot be proud of the name Kotoka International Airport when he's not associated with any major developmental project in our country. We cannot be proud of the name Kotoka when the last act of President Rawlings in 2000 was to demount his statue from the forecourt of the airport. And that act has never been reinstated by successive administrations. We cannot be proud of the name Kotoka when his coup d'etat created an abyss of political instability for the next 30 years in Ghana's history, allowing countries like South Korea to leapfrog us. We cannot be proud of the name Kotoka when every single airport in this world is either named after the city in which they are located or after an iconic or revolutionary figure. And so we have Jomo Kenyatta Airport, the founding father and the first president of the Republic of Kenya. We have Julius Nyerere Airport, the founding father and the first president of Tanzania. We have Nnamdi Azikiwe Airport, the founding father and the first president of Nigeria. And just next door, Houphouët-Boigny Airport, the founding father and the first president of La Côte d'Ivoire. Where is Dr. Nkrumah, the African of the millennium? A man whose name and whose statue boldly sits at the forecourt of the AU, but in his own country, sits in the shadows of the bushes in our museums. This can't continue. And so today we rally a call to the conscience of our nation. And to Parliament, we say heed our call. in the coming days, we shall present a petition to the leadership of the Honorable Speaker, the Majority Leader, the Minority Leader, the Chairperson of the Transport Committee, the Minister for Foreign Affairs, and the Minister for Transport. To the Judiciary, I say, heed the constitutional call of the Democracy Hub and answer with clear constitutional clarity on this matter. To our religious leaders and chiefs, this is not just a name-calling exercise or a name change exercise. This contributes to the spiritual awakening of our country. And I must commend again the efforts of the leadership of the Democracy Hub. I must commend the efforts of Kwesi Pratt Jr. I must commend the efforts of Kweku Sinti Misa, who over the past years have brought this issue to national focus. I'm just a lone voice, adding to the strength of theirs. And I believe that to the President of the Republic, you did say in your New Year message that our youth must lead today and not tomorrow. Our actions today is evidence of our call to serve today and not tomorrow. Not as spectators, but as citizens of the Ghana that we want, the Ghana that you, Mr. President, want, and the Ghana that Dr. Nkrumah had envisioned. And so let's go back into history. Look, I started with Dr. Kofi Annan. I spoke about the Big Six. I mentioned that we could also consider President Rawlings, President Kufuor. So clearly you know that my speech and my address was not political. My preference is Dr. Nkrumah. Everybody has a preference. But the question is, we need to start breaking up the conversation and at least advocate for the name drop. If we reverse to Accra International Airport, fantastic. We have other airports named after cities and towns like I mentioned. But we don't have any airports in the world named after a person that overthrew a founding leader. With respect to the question about the one-party state, I think every revolutionary leader that led their countries to independence became dictatorial for several reasons. Paranoia. Their lives was always a ticking time bomb. And I think I wouldn't go into the justification of the one-party state, but like I've mentioned, there's never a monument in Rome for Brutus who overthrew Caesar. Caesar is known today for all the wrongs, but most of the good that he did. There's never a monument or an airport named after the coup d'etat actors who overthrew Julius Nyerere and all these other great African revolutionaries. And so I'm putting it out there to everybody. Come up with a preference, but it cannot be Kotoka International Airport. It can be any other, and I'm sure your preference, of course, is Accra International Airport, which I respect. Thank you very much.
He wasn't. He won an election as an MP and became a prime minister, and then the whole independent process came. He wasn't like Museveni, who came from the bush to try to put the two together. He was a Democrat, invited to join a political party. He formed a political organization, which was the choice of the people, and he got the support, and out of that became the president of the Republic of Ghana, which we all respect, but certainly not a role.
I respect your opinion. Thank you.
No, it's not a matter of respect. It's a statement of fact. That's a statement of fact. You can ask KSF, he will tell you.
But I think the spirit of this gathering.
Well, we cannot refer to the legend KSF.
That's fine.
As far as this issue is concerned,
That's
about
fine.
him being a good leader, being a revolutionary leader or not.
That's fine. That's fine.
Yes, so my name is Osman.
Thank you.
Yes, I just want to know whether are you not okay with so far what on a I'm going to have a museum here. He has a university named after him and other things.
Yes.
Are you seeing we have not enough for him?
Yeah.
And you think the airport naming will be significant than all those I've mentioned?
Yes, absolutely. Like I've said, I mean, assuming this went before the House of Parliament, right? You will have a certain section that are going for the name Nkrumah. You have others who go for maybe even Professor Mills, right? Or, but the point I'm making is that the same argument persists for the revolutionary leaders, Azikwe and Kenyatta and Nyerere and Go, who do have monuments in their country, but they still thought wise to still name them at the front door. I think we just need to find a name that we are proud to represent, and I think that is the spirit of this whole exercise. And so I respect everybody's opinion on what the name could be, but let's not have the name of a man that overthrew, if anything at all, our founding leader or one of our founding leaders. We can't have that, and that's what we are here to present. So whatever choice the media could even propose, I'll be glad, and I'm looking forward to the response from the minister and the president. Thank you. Hello.
Me, I came to study history, so I wasn't there when the history began and all of that. Okay. So maybe my knowledge of it might be limited. But most of founding fathers or previous leaders or military leaders and all had one controversy about their rule one way or the other.
About this, sorry?
They had some controversies surrounding how they were elected or how how some names were even named.
Some of our founding fathers?
Yes.
Okay.
Even including Rollins.
Okay.
So they had a whole bunch of controversies around it. For Kotoka, for instance, he had his own reasons why he wanted to overthrow Nkrumah, which is one of them being the one-party state situation. So maybe in his defense, and I'm not saying he may have been right, as again, it's a controversy. So in his defense, he was also helping our democracy by taking away the autocratic state that Nkrumah had plunged us in. So maybe maintaining Kotoka may not necessarily be wrong, considering that he was also advocating for democracy.
Sure. I didn't want to go into the history lessons, and I don't know that I'm advised to do so, but I just want to say that Jerry Rawlings in the 1979 revolution had about a 3-month window to return the country to civilian rule. The NLC took over power in 66 and handed over power in 69. What was happening between those 3 years? If the whole aim was to restore our country to civilian rule, it should have taken 3 months to hand over us back. And I think they got into the hubris of power and delayed that transition, which through pressure groups eventually happened in 69.